Today I want to talk about what are the basics of MGTOW. First off, what is MGTOW? Well, MGTOW is an acronym. MGTOW stands for Men Going Their Own Way. And while the term MGTOW might be fairly new, it has always existed in one form or another. In the past, a man who was a MGTOW might have simply been referred to as a bachelor or a confirmed bachelor. Like the bachelor, the man going his own way has simply chosen life where he prioritizes his own freedom over a life of cohabitation or marriage with a woman. Being MGTOW is similar to being a stoic, in that MGTOW is both something that you do and something that you are. What is required, though, for a man to call himself a MGTOW? Well, there are three core elements that I believe makes a man a MGTOW. 1. A man must be red pill aware. I will go much more into this later in the video, but the term red pilled comes from the movie The Matrix, in which the hero Neo is offered a choice between a red pill and a blue pill. And by taking the red pill, he wakes up and realizes that he's been living in a computer simulation all his life. The truth is that this isn't all that different from what happens to men who take the red pill in real life. Second, a man who is MGTOW never cohabitates with a woman, not even if she is only his girlfriend. Third, a man who is MGTOW never gets married. In short, the reasoning behind never getting married and never cohabitating with a woman is because of the legal and financial pitfalls that a man can face due to the current state of the laws in the West. More on this later. Every man who calls himself a MGTOW embraces all three of these rules. Any man claiming to be MGTOW, and I would even go so far as to say any man claiming to be red-pilled who breaks one of these rules is selling you a bill of goods. I also feel that I need to comment briefly on the MGTOW monks. While MGTOW men may not cohabitate or marry a woman, many do still date casually, but there are men who take this a step further. These men, who are commonly referred to as MGTOW monks, don't date at all. Some even take it as far as to avoid working with and interacting with women as much as possible. There are many reasons why a man might choose to go monk mode. He might be less risk tolerant than some men and be wary of being falsely accused of doing something that he didn't do. He might embrace being a monk temporarily in order to focus on bettering himself, or he might simply feel like women just aren't important enough to pursue. Personally, over the last few years, as I've gotten older and deeper into the red pill, I've found myself less and less interested in even having casual relationships. While I'm not ready to call myself a monk yet, I'm starting to wonder if TFM isn't right about just getting a doll. Now, one important thing that I want to point out is that monks are not the same thing as incels. A few years ago, before the term incel became common, we used to refer to incels as true forced loneliness. These are guys who would happily marry and cohabitate with any woman that would have them. But monks are not incels. They are choosing to avoid women. I always put it like this. An incel is a man who wants a woman but can't get one. A MGTOW is a man who can get a woman but doesn't want one. Next, let's briefly go into what the blue pill and the red pill is and what it means to be red pill aware. As I said, the term red pill comes from the movie The Matrix, and the term red pill today has been co-opted by everyone from PUAs to political pundits. Initially, though, in the early days of what has commonly come to be known as the manosphere, the term red pill simply means that you know the truth of female nature. Now, on its face, knowing the truth about female nature doesn't sound like it is that big of a deal, but that is until you realize that nearly every facet of our society is built on a lie. It is built on a lie about who and what women really are, how they behave, how they think, and how they control men in order to get what they want. The reason it is so important to understand female nature isn't just so that you as a man can learn how to navigate while interacting with women, though that is certainly important, especially for men who are not MGTOW monks. The reason it is so important to understand female nature is because it is men who have been the leaders and architects of civilization since the dawn of time, will do almost anything to please women. The average blue pill man will pass and enforce laws that hurt men in favor of women. He will kill other men for women. He will even go so far as to destroy the very civilization that his ancestors built in order to appease the desires of women. He will do this because he has been conditioned from birth to see women as the prize, as these paragons of beauty and virtue, and most of all as the entire reason for his existence. The red pill breaks a man of this conditioning Much of MGTOW red pill content is devoted to examining female nature for exactly this reason, to break the stranglehold that the blue pill mindset has on men and society as a whole. Then on the other hand, the blue pill is often thought of as the default state of men before they take the red pill, and this isn't exactly true. Just like it wasn't natural for Neo to be living in the Matrix before he took the red pill, it isn't natural for men to believe the blue pill lies that they have been fed their entire life. In fact, if you look back before the rise of feminism, I think that the nature of women was commonly understood and accepted. You can even look at the old religious tomes, not in a religious context, but simply a historical one. Then you will see that even in ancient times, our ancestors knew the truth of female nature and passed that wisdom down to us. With the rise of feminism, though, the world started to abandon the wisdom of our forefathers, and the blue pill lie began to take shape. That blue pill lie eventually became what I call the Disney fairy tale. It's a lie that we're all taught from a young age, a fairy tale about a beautiful, virtuous woman who can do no wrong and who will love you unconditionally. And as long as you're a good man, you can have your happily ever after with a house, 2 cars, and a couple of kids. And how do you be a good man, you might ask? Well, that's simple. You simply do anything a woman wants, and she will shower you with unconditional love and sex whenever you want. The hardest thing about breaking the blue pill indoctrination isn't just that both men and women are taught this lie from birth, it's that they want to believe it. I think that we are now just starting to get to the tipping point. All the strife for the last couple of years, we are seeing the results of a system that allows runaway hypergamy and a justice and family court system that rewards women while punishing men. Lastly, I want to talk about why no cohabitation and no marriage. Now, for anyone who has been in MGTOW circles for any amount of time, this should be common knowledge. But for the average blue-pilled man, this can literally be life-saving knowledge. As far as cohabitation goes, there are a few very good reasons to not do it. First, and I touched on this in my marriage trap video, the more secure a woman is in a relationship, the worse she is likely to treat you. Any man who's ever dated a woman can tell you that a relationship is always the most fun in the beginning. Part of this is the newness of it, but a bigger part is the way that women behave in new relationships. A woman's behavior is almost completely controlled by her emotions, and her emotions are driven largely by her hormones. In the beginning of a relationship, a woman's hormones are in overdrive. She is being fed all kinds of positive hormones, making her act pleasant and accommodating, as well as making her crave sex with you. This is all her biology pushing her to lock down a mate for protection and provision. But when you move in with a woman, she begins to feel secure. Her hormones change, she stops being so interested in sex, and stops desiring to please you as much. As a MGTOW that understands female nature and still dates, this is why you know you should never let a relationship go beyond the casual stage. You always want to keep her chasing you. Secondly, if you move in with a woman, you can't back out of the relationship very easily. Maybe you signed a lease together, maybe you put yourself in a situation where she is now relying on you financially or you on her. What are you going to do if your woman goes feral right after you sign a 12-month lease with her? Third, there are a lot of financial and legal pitfalls that you can be faced with when living with a woman, if at any time the relationship goes sour. What if she calls the cops and tells them that you hit her? Even if you don't get arrested, at the very least you could find yourself kicked out of your own apartment, an apartment that you are still required to pay half the rent on. By living separately from a woman you are dating, not only do you incentivize her to stay on her best behavior, but you can also easily cut bait at any time and walk away while minimizing the damage a vindictive woman can do to you. Now on to marriage. For marriage, you can take everything I said about cohabitation and multiply that by 100. Not only are you going to be living with your wife, but you are bound by a contract with the state to provide for her and to stay with her. If you want to get out of that contract, you have to get permission from the state and possibly get lawyers involved. This will be the most secure a woman will ever feel in a relationship, and you can bet your ass her behavior will reflect that. My ex-wife and I went from having sex 2 or 3 times a day in the beginning of our relationship to having sex 2 or 3 times a month about a year after getting married. Men often get married expecting that everything will stay exactly the same, only to find that everything they loved about their woman goes out the window not long after they say I do. But the main reason above all why a man should never get married is because of the family courts. Back when I was blue-pilled, even when I was miserable in my marriage and considering divorce, I always assumed that all the stories that you hear about men getting taken to the cleaners and divorce courts were just that, stories. I didn't think that there was any possible way it would happen to me. After all, I wasn't rich. I didn't have much to take. Most men assume this. Most men expect that when they get divorced, it'll be fair and equitable. What most men don't know is how ridiculously one-sided divorce courts in the West are. Not only is the deck stacked against you, but at least in the U.S., the family courts are actually financially incentivized to extract as much money out of you, the man, as they can. Because for every dollar of child support and alimony that they can award, they will get a kickback from the federal government. Now, depending on the length of the marriage and the state you live in, a man today can literally be enslaved for life by the family courts. From a purely financial and legal standpoint, marriage should not even be considered for any man today. It's like playing Russian roulette when there is a bullet in every chamber. There is quite literally zero upside for a man to get married. You can only lose. I will definitely go a lot deeper into these and other topics going forward, but for now, those are the basics that any man who's new to MGTOW needs to know. Thank you all for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and don't forget to follow me on BitChute. When my channel gets taken down, you'll be able to find me there. Thanks.